Hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Where last time we continued the final trial of the game, and today we are going to be continuing our final trial of the game after a short recess in this defendant's antechamber, of course, because we are now amidst the process of waiting for the subpoena for Eggs Benedict. That's a real sentence that I just said, to come in, because he is who we believe to be the real culprit in this case, at least for the time being. Could be someone else, but who knows? We believe it to be that he is the culprit of this case for the time being, so we're finally going to get him on the stand, and we're finally going to corner him. April 17, 12:41 p.m., the Old Bailey defendant's antechamber. Ah, Gina, how are you holding up? I'm starting to feel quite warmly towards the frequent cold shoulders now.
Ginny, are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything?
What's the point, eh? Why's get all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me? Because we believe you're innocent. It's very simple. Well, you saw it, that picture. What picture?
Ah, you mean this?
I see a picture of you holding a gun and pointing it up in the air, not at him.
Well, I didn't think it would have captured a scene like this, that's for sure.
It's hopeless. Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of a shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court. Surely you gotta have your doubts about me now. Nope. You can't still think I'm innocent. I do. Of course I can.
Ginny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night.
Eh?
Bruno's cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear it from you.
Alright then. It was after we had dinner, had that dinner together at your place, right, Iris? Then we all had a chat up in your office, didn't we? Yes, I remember. That's some thunder. I apologize if you can hear the thunder. After that, I just couldn't get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down to the street to the 2-to-1 to Winterbank's place. I had to know if Iris' story was there or not, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Which we still don't know why it's so important and why Susanna knows about it. I don't know what it's about or nothing. Me either. But if you ask me, there's something in it that showmans don't like. Something what you don't want people reading. So that's why I lied to Iris about sticking it in log with Winterbank for safekeeping. At least that's what I thought at the time. By the way, if I had known that Gina was going to be this prevalent of a character, I would never have given her this stupid voice. I tried to give her a voice that would match the "you what, mate" tone of her dialogue. I would never have given her this voice if I knew that I was gonna have to speak in this much with her voice. This is yikes. Like Gumshoe's voice might actually put more strain on my throat, but it's like more physically exhausting to do this constantly. You what, mate? I just had to know if it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea what all that was gonna kick off, did I? I struck the lock and stuck inside. It was dark as you like in there, so I gave the old lamp on the counter a bit of a wick, and that's when... I nearly died, I did, and next thing I knew... I grabbed the gun off the counter, I was waving in the air like, I know what. Ah. You're the girl who's in this afternoon. Yeah. The manuscript. The manuscript, have you got it here? Sherman's leave a load of papers with you? A story.
I beg your pardon?
The Hound of the supplement of it. If it's here, I want to see it.
I'm sorry, young lady, but I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers.
I don't want it. Why would I do it anyway? I just want to see it, it's all.
Oh, you want to see it, do you?
I want to know if Sherman's really pawned it here or not. Please, just let me see it and I'll go.
Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would you?
So then the old cove unlocked the storeroom door and we both went inside. And it was right there, right, the manuscript. Shums wasn't lying after all.
You did all that just to check for me, Ginny?
Anyway, then there was a bit of a kickabout in the main bit of the shop. The skulking brothers were arriving on the scene, yes. What was that noise? Someone's breaking in.
Dear me, is there some burglars convention here tonight that I don't know about?
I think I've got to shut the door behind me. Sorry.
Better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back?
You seem very calm about a potential breaking and entering, or an armed robbery.
Now, don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances.
And with that, he took the gun out of my hands and walked back out into the shop. I hung back in the storm, like he said, straining my ears in the dark to hear what was going on. It sounded like they got into a bit of a scrap. I started to think I should help, see? So I was just about to go out of the store myself when... I heard a couple of shots go off, 2 I think, almost at the same time, and then there was, right at my feet, lying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storm doors. I was tempted shut because you thought whoever shot Mr. Windbag might come for you. Yeah, so I went to grab the old cove's gun. I figured I'd put a fight up at least. But when I got a better look at him, I knew. Windbag was a goner. I felt funny in my head all of a sudden, kind of dizzy. And after that, I don't remember nothing. Must be when you passed out, Gina. If I hadn't done what I'd done, the old cove might still be alive. Did you tell the police everything you just told us? Of course I did, but I didn't believe a word of it, did they? All I said was if I keep telling lies, it'd make things even worse for me.
It'll be alright, Ginny, don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Runa's about to put the real cobra through the mill.
No pressure, though. That cove what was there in the afternoon? That Edward Benedict. I can't believe... I mean, it's not his real name, but I just... The fact that you would choose that as your fake name, I think, might actually be more hilarious. Because at least if your name's Edgar Benedict, at least you can be like, yeah, my parents just hate me for some reason. But you chose to give yourself that name. Like, I mean, I feel like you did this to yourself, buddy. I still remember how he looked at me, like I was nothing. He was there that night. We don't know his real name yet, but I'm convinced that he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty. You what?
You can leave it all in Bruno's capable hands now, Ginny.
Mr. Naoto. Yes? How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened here before? Come on, it was only 2 months ago. Me and McGill did. We told you a whole pack of lies. And you got the bog trot off with him, even though he was a killer. No, I could never forget that. Oh, I did what I thought was best at the time, but the pain of that error of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what. But what if I'm lying? You could be working to get another killer off the hook for all you know. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in a trial. You were? Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder, and strange as it might sound, the circumstances of this crime were pretty damning. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who'd done it.
Oh, Bruno.
But there was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend me. My best friend. Who's probably not dead. Ryunosuke, no one believes in you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith in me, and I'll do the rest. He did not, in fact, do the rest. We did. I was so happy I cried, but even then, somewhere inside me I couldn't help thinking, surely he doesn't really believe in me, not completely. But I was wrong. As soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had an absolute, unwavering belief in me, and an absolute, unwavering, invisible fan blowing his ribbons back that whole time. And in turn, I developed an absolute, unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first. What are you saying? I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you, so you don't need to worry. I won't let you down. Even though I'm a diver and a no-good liar, those things don't make you a murderer. You're not like McGill did. I know that.
Eh? That's right. You're our friend, Ginny. Iris.
We know you're better than you think. And we've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust. Yes, that's really all we need to know.
Exactly.
Mr. Naoto, Aww. Lieutenant Gino Lestrade, League representative. Court proceedings are about to... No, they are not. No, they are not. You said we were going to be here for until 1:40. The timestamp was 12:41. We were not here. It's been 9 minutes. It has not been an hour. Yes, of course. Thank you. No, it has not been an hour. Nice try. It's been 10 minutes at most. I've been both a defendant and a defending lawyer in my time, so I knew only too well just how hard it was to put all your faith in another. And I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another putting all their faith in you. This is it at last. The final chapter. The final battle. Wish me luck, Susato-san. And I hope you're watching over me too, partner. Well, Kazuma's not dead. At least I don't think he is. Because of how prominently he is on both the cover art and the web promotional website. And there's the fact the Al Jazeera report says almost certainly dead, but, you know, he may not be watching over you. But I am. I'm here. I'm playing as you. I'll be here to watch over you, pal. April 17th, 1:41 p.m., the Old Bailey Courtroom. I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Van Zeeks, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness? The subpoena was delivered to the communications station where the man works immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem. I see. Then let us turn our attention to Inspector Gregson's précis of the case heard by the court this morning. This glaring omission of the third bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector.
Yes, I can only apologize, my lord.
And although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood of the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as— Yeah, why permit the use of science in a courtroom? That's just silly.
It's a big mistake to cross Hurley and me. A very big mistake.
My lord, the subpoenaed witness has just arrived in the building.
Thank you, officer. Mr. Eggert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon, and certainly not like this. Welcome back, Mr. Breakfast Man. Thank you for complying with the court subpoena at such short notice, sir.
But of course, my lord. As an upstanding member of London society, it is my pleasure to oblige.
Now kindly state your name and occupation for the record.
Ashley Graydon, Communications Officer. Mr. Graydon and I both work at London's Central Communications Station. Now, perhaps somebody would kindly explain what all this is about.
You know exactly what this is about. You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on your way here, I presume. Yes, I was, and why'd you ask the question?
Something to do with a murder that took place at a pawnbroker's on Baker Street. And some nonsense about me having been there on the night in question.
That is the accusation indeed.
This really is beyond a joke, you know.
Yeah, well, so's your name. Very well. Without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath. And preferably without the fancy dance moves.
Gladly, my lord, gladly.
And so the battle begins. The accusation.
Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. But are you seriously suggesting that I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation, even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene. Some scour-mouth detective's homebrewed tincture can hardly be taken as serious evidence.
Yeah, why take science as serious evidence? That's just a silly thing to do. So, you deny the accusation completely, do you?
I must say I am dismayed, for the highest court in the land to be swept by this self-professed detective's toy.
It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld.
Then it would seem we have the misfortune of the most inept assembly of jurors today.
Yeah, great way to start, my friend. Piss off the jury, why don't you? Piss off the jury when you've been accused of murder. Great job.
How long am I expected to be detained here?
If, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in this matter has not been established, you will be free to leave immediately.
Good. Then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. No, you won't. Some small consolation at least.
Let us not hold up Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination.
So, we meet again, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon?
My apologies. I'm still calling him Eggs Benedict.
You are?
Remember the Ryunosuke Naohodo, defense lawyer. Remember the crazy guy that danced around you with another crazy guy? Yeah, that'd be me. We have met.
If you say so, Ashley Graydon, enchante. So. I trust we can conclude this quickly.
But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. That hat is bigger than the size of my head. That hat is literally bigger than my head. Okay. Alright, buddy. Let's get this over with. So, even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene, yeah, I claim it because it's true. I can prove it. Blood was found on the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Shome's chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I am not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How can you be so sure the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Shomes' chemical is able to differentiate different blood samples by... Spare me the science lesson! Yeah, I'm so surprised you would say something like that. Who is this Shomes character, anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners know the name. He's a renowned detective. So even you are unable to bring yourself to say great detective. Yeah, no one with any level of brain capacity would be able to call him a great detective after what we've seen today. Or sorry, not today. Over the past 5 cases. A great detective, you say? Now we're in the realm of... Oh, wait. Someone said a thing.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin?
What? Me?
No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you.
Right, I've had enough to hear with this.
How many times have I gotta tell you, I'm not... Yes, I know, you're not Big Bruv Soki. Obviously, when I say next to him, I mean... I know it might be crazy to believe, but when I say the person next to you, I mean the person next to you. And Gregson was not the person next to you. I know it's a hard concept. I know it's a pretty difficult concept for you to grasp. But I was not referring to Gregson. I was referring to this chode.
You what?
Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share that thought with the court?
Me thoughts? I don't have none of them. It must have been him. You what, mate?
Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke?
Nothing.
Honestly, I have nothing. I don't believe you anymore. You've lied like 6 million times in the past 3 hours. You are not to be trusted anymore. I don't believe you when you say that you have nothing to say. What wound?
Where we took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. I ain't gonna be sealed up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was worrying for him, and... Oh, elbows!
Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord. Yes, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. We know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, that person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow a court official to examine your arm, sir? The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand, as if in pain? No, I refuse. Well, it's too bad. I don't really care if you refuse or not. You've shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. Accordingly, I'm not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. Well, the detective's standing right next to you, so shouldn't he be able to see with his own eyes? As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all this. I've never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. I take offense to the insinuation that I was in any way involved. You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Winbank's pawnbrokery? My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony. Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. So, you've never had anything to do with the pawnbroking establishment where the man was killed. That's obviously not true, because you were there to try to get the music box disc.
Objection.
Which, by the way, has your blood on it. Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Don't lie now. Why? It's supposed to mean something. It directly contradicts your last statement. This disc was, until the day of the murder, in pawn in Mr. Winbank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try to take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course. Wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. So if we were to do a blood analysis on this, it wouldn't come out to be your blood. It may have escaped your notice, but there was a small smear of blood on the disc. Ah, yes, resulting from the abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In a skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must. Mr. Graydon! You refuse to allow a court an officer to examine your arm. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt it bears a small scratch consistent with a smear of blood on this disc.
Well, well, it would seem I underestimated you.
What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now? You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take this from the defendant? Order, order. Well, Mr. Graydon?
It would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding. Oh, has there now? Oh, has there now? Oh, do tell, buddy. Do tell. What is this misunderstanding you speak of? I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to see how you wheel your way out of this one. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No, quite the reverse. Are you going to say she tried to steal it from you? What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Really? Because up until about 5 minutes ago, you said that you never had anything to do with the pawnbroker shop at all. Now you're saying that you did, and that was yours. You were just trying to get it back? Oh, how interesting. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What?
It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about the disc now.
As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. If you can see that your blood is on that thing, then you are implicitly conceding your blood is on the calendar or surrounding the bullet at the scene of the crime. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. There's a note on the disc saying, "For Mr. McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling. On the day in question, I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article." In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into that shop later the same night.
Really? Are you sure about that? So what about this receipt we have right here about a box? Oh, it's not in cursive anymore, thanks. Mr. Winbank appears to have used back of this, yeah, February 13th, 9 p.m., one small box. So you no reason to go back, huh? How about to get this small box? Do you don't have a reason to get this back? I feel like you might have a reason to get this back. Just a hunch. I have a feeling you might want to get this back. Did I hear you correctly, sir? What did you say? The famous London philanthropist? Who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago of being acquitted after a singularly messy murder?
Yes, my lord. The one and the same.
Good lord. Mr. Graydon, are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted?
Yes, that's correct.
Order. Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again.
According to what Gina told us, the disc was placed in pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windbanks. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windbanks in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason. I don't know what the hell's on that music disc.
Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, and Rain, you will stop pounding on my window and interrupting my recording. Although, for all I know, the microphone might not even pick up the rain, so who knows. So, you claim that you had absolutely no reason to return to the same shop later that night. What if you were trying to get another item that had yet to be redeemed in the form of a small box?
Objection.
The disc was deposited at Windbanks on Magnus McGilded's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself. Conjecture again, and in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbroker again that night.
Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true.
What?
If Mr. McGilded had another article in pawn at Windbanks, as this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilded and Windbanks pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers!
This is the second ticket, is it? What had the man deposited?
The article description reads, one small box. A rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forwarded, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft.
That's a good point. Indeed. What this makes a solid argument.
So that means that for some reason, it's Graydon fell, oh dear lord.
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord.
Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zeeks? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windbank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What? Good gracious. Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please.
Yes, sir.
What prints?
These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras. Ah, Cooley's red-handed recorders again!
As previously explained using this plan of the shop layout, the victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter when Mr. Windbank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which the articles were placed for sale once forfeited.
According to the information on this ticket, Mr. McGilda's small box had been forfeited already, 2 days before the incident at 9 p.m. on the 13th of April to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 p.m. on April 15th.
The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear.
And then we have another print.
Let me guess, time to stereoscopically analyze these, see if there's anything different between the two of them?
This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident.
I guarantee we have to use the stereoscope to try to figure out what's different.
I see. So we have 2 pictures to compare.
And we're not going to waste time trying to get someone to jump out at us like this, so why don't we just use the stereoscopic device and figure out what's different between the two.
I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache.
Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life.
So you men have already prepared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, we'll see how pathetic your quote-unquote thorough examination is as we use some stereoscopic techniques to figure out what's really different between these two.
And the Yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both.
Oh, really?
In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question, and my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy.
Ah! I don't believe it! If I could have just shown that he'd stolen McGilda's pawn box, you still can. You still can. Just use the stereoscopic device. Oh, don't you do your little victory dance all over me, buddy. I might have been able to break him down at last.
You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these 2 photographs really are exactly the same.
What?
So, counsel, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion?
I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy? Use a piece of evidence. We're gonna use the stereoscope. And we're gonna nail him. Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something, if I may.
Try something? What do you mean, counsel?
I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy.
I'm not entirely sure I follow.
What piece of evidence? I want to use the stereoscope. I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the 2 prints stereoscopically.
Ooh! Yes, you've caught the bug. Excuse me, at last. You can't resist it, can you? Ooh! You've got the cross-eye compulsion.
No, I don't. My eyes are still hurt from when I did that earlier. Juror number 3, what a surprise.
Come on, Bruno. Let's put the pictures into place and see what this wonderful contraption shows us. There we go. Now, look to the eyepiece.
They better not make me do this again. Aha! I wasn't sure at first, but there was a clear discrepancy between these 2 prints.
What? You must identify the location in question for the court, counsel. Indicate the precise location of discrepancy of which you speak.
It would obviously be right... here. Granted, these 2 prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them.
What?
When you view the 2 pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different. The location of this small box.
Let me... wait. Unbelievable.
By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary. Great, now everyone's going cross-eyed again. What this tells us is very simple. McGilded's small box was indeed not stolen from Winbank's on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilded is in fact? Yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints!
Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen, which means quite simply that nothing has changed. That's not true at all. Everything has changed.
That may be true, but alright, McGilded's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? It changes everything. It changes absolutely everything. I believe this changes everything about the case.
How can that possibly be?
The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box.
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves of Winbanks as we speak.
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial.
The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zeeks. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once, obtain the small box in question, and bring it back here for further examination.
He's sweating now. I bet you he's starting to sweat now. We haven't seen him break down much. Usually by this point, the witness in question starts to freak out a bit more, but he's not freaking out super hard yet. But give it time. He's sweating internally. He's sweating internally. He knows his days are numbered. It's only a matter of time.
We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth. To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing.
I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zeeks.
This is nothing but a smokescreen, a Nipponese specialty, it would seem.
What are you trying to say?
My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning, that this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilded from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles are of value enough to be worth stealing in the first place.
Exactly! It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property.
If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilded perished 2 months ago immediately after the conclusion of his trial, a trial in which he was found not guilty, a trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense.
The articles that the upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept it even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. Would the small box happen to be a music box designed specifically to be able to play said music disc? Maybe. Never know.
The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling.
It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument.
God damn it, will you stop throwing glass all over the place? Someone move the lamppost so we can't do that anymore.
To explain,
Or better yet, just take away that damn champagne bottle.
To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have.
Well, I mean, if you want better context, then we can just get Gina on the stand and ask her what the hell the truth about the omnibus case is, so that we know what the hell is on that music disc, and confirm whether or not the small box contains an actual music box.
Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any way tangible related to this case?
Well, it's
What's the matter, Runo? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence.
Yes, of course. You and I both know that. But we know McGilded's true character, and we know that this is significant, even if we don't know why. But if we explain it all to the court, we have to acknowledge that McGilded's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. So what? The verdict can't be overturned. That doesn't matter. Based on full... Okay, so what? That trial's over. That's in the past. The verdict's set in stone. Nothing's gonna change by that. That would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. Yeah, perjury is a lesser crime than murder, you idiot. And in case you forgot, she's guilty of perjury. She's not guilty of murder. And right now, we have to prove that the latter is true. Could it be that Van Zeeks knows? Is that why he's doing this now, because he anticipated everything?
But maybe this could be a great opportunity for us.
Sorry, what do you mean, Iris?
Well, what is it that you always say, Runo? Sooner or later, the truth comes out every time.
Alright, the exact significance of the things that McGilda deposited with Mr. Winbank is something that only Gina can explain to the court. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. It could literally only help us. She's our only chance right now. What's the right thing to do here? Have Gina testify. Obviously. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh? What proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilda's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited in Winbanks by Mr. McGilda, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all.
Well, well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing, in particular, the impact it will have on the accused standing, and indeed your own.
I have.
Lord Van Zeeks, would you care to explain that last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the covered witness and hear from the accused herself.
Yeah, let's crowd the witness stand even more, why don't we?
Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Your new witness is currently in the stand. May step down until further notice.
Then I shall bid you good day.
Oh, don't go too far, buddy. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies.
As you wish. Alright then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here.
Good luck, Runo.
It all comes down to this. Gina, we're counting on you here. By which I mean you should be counting on yourself. The articles that Mr. McGilda had deposited in Winbank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago.
Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well.
That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilda.
The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now here we all are again. The same players in that trial facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend.
Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilda. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. That the murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilda died in this very courtroom, in the most extraordinary of circumstances.
A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on, as indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor this small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings.
Miss Lestrade? Would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean, Gina. Gina, goddammit, Gina, this is the only chance you have. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade. This is extremely important.
Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose.
Ginny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to trust Runo now. Iris? We're on your side.
Alright then, I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina.
Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it
It would appear that Mr. McGilded's pawned articles in that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements.
This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Zeek said. This could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer I'm prepared to take that risk. Come on, Gina. We're counting on you. The real truth of the omnibus case. Truth is, that Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of this omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from the sea, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream over my head, and the pair of the roof deck went to call the slops. After Mr. McGildy slops said the driver had something to do with a run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard.
Good grief, this is outrageous. What you just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago.
As you say, my lord.
Then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in McGilded's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes.
Without doubt your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend, are entirely inexcusable.
You're wrong. The lawyer is not owed to the lawyer that didn't know nothing about it. Humbug. I don't think so. Are we really expected to believe that? He really stitched everyone up, didn't he? What an operation to get the man off scot-free.
I'd like to remind you that I deliberately went out of my way to bring up evidence that was going against my client being innocent. But then he's like, oh, actually the evidence is invalid, so haha, lol, I win, bye. So, yeah, no, I don't know what you're getting at here, but Renosuke did everything in his power to try to get him proved guilty towards the end, but he couldn't because apparently the evidence was
inadmissible or whatever.
Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the truth and significance of Mr. McGilden's pawn articles must be brought to light.
Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing.
Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo,
Oh, yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Alright, here we go. Also, I don't know, like, the point of the defense lawyer is to try to get your client proved, or to try to defend your client, which we tried to do, and then when the time came about, we tried to present evidence that was in line with the truth of the case that would be detrimental to our client's success. This is not Renosuke's fault in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what you're getting all hung up about. Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin. I don't really know where to start. Let's just take top to bottom and we'll just go one statement at a time. And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of those seats? Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed McGilden was the sole passenger, did you not?
False testimony, my lord.
That's what you told me I had to say. But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilden and the victim acquaintances? I don't know, but I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder, and it started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe, and then all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone kneeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
I believe you let out an involuntary scream.
Yeah, that's what gave me away. Okay, that didn't get us anywhere. Let's just keep moving. Was the disc you saw this disc? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove line on the floor.
Could this disc belong to the victim, perhaps?
I don't know, but McGilden picked it up pretty smartish, and then he sat on the cove with the knife and his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at the time? He told me not to say a word about what I seen or heard to no one, about the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I guess talk about that knife too. Then he started asking me little questions, like what my name was, where I lived and that. He asked me about being a diver too. But after a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First it was a kind of rapping noise. Still not getting anywhere. There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. They must have looked down from the skylight and noticed the code with the knife in its guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled up to the horses and McGilda got me out of sight.
Out of sight. Where?
Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to an halt, the two coasts from the roof went off to fetch the slops.
If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident.
So that left McGilda, the driver, and you still at the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
Driver, yes. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves.
What did McGilda and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happened and stuff like that mainly.
Okay, I this is all cute and all, but I really need to actually just know what the deal is with the disc and the music box, or the small box, or what it's probably a music box.
The pawn shop obviously being Windbanks on Baker Street.
Just a moment, Counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well?
Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand.
Indeed, Lord Van Zeeks.
McGilda took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up all careful-like before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it's got to be worth a few bob. Yes, Gina was sure that this must be worth more than Mr. Windbag was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery. That driver looked pretty happy when McGilda flashed some brass in his face. Then the bog trotter called me and told me to come out from the drag's cabin. He threatened me not to snitch. Threatened you how exactly? Told me I'd only be able to scalp if I did exactly what he said.
Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said.
Which was?
He told me I have to hang on the ticket from the pawn shop, make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I never.
Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the pawn shop and pay him money to keep it logged, to stop it being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it.
But really, why on earth would Miss McGilda have done such a thing? But if pausing his overcoat with a pawnbroker before they arrived at the police, it makes no sense at all.
There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilda had the driver deposit at Winterbank was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs. Anyway, after that he let me go, so I legged it up before the coppers showed up. Well done, Gina. It can't have been easy to tell the truth like that.
Gina's really put her faith in you, Runo.
Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over, so I'll need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible.
It's time to really go for it.
Professor, I did that. I did exactly that. What's that?
Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange that they've been whispering to each other the entire time?
Yes, it is strange. Looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I'm not entirely sure I'm comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it. Am I allowed to just... Like, if I press... Do I have to pursue them when there's an exclamation point over them, or can I just do it anytime I... Oh. Oh, I can do this the entire time. Is there something you'd like to share about the court, Inspector Gregson, Mr. Graydon? Inspector! Mr. Graydon!
Whoa! Blimey, you trying to give me a heart attack?
You have been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Would you like to share your note with the class?
Discussion with this fella? Pull the other one, sunshine. You think I've got anything to talk about with a shady gentleman?
You obviously do. For some reason. And I'm not to say this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine. But they've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating.
Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, Counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired in the omnibus.
It would appear that on the night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus, a negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilda took what he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life.
Which proves my point. This disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way. Although I don't understand why as yet.
And 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGilda's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited.
I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the code died right after his trial. I knew that.
So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own.
Well, why not, eh? They only got to be forfeited. Why should I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame him for thinking about it. I think it ain't no crime.
Mr. Lestrade, it would appear McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be?
Eh? I ain't got a clue. The whole point is that you're supposed to give us information about the stupid disc, that your freedom relies around what is on this disc. Gina, I'm begging you here. Please throw me a bone. But I reckon it must be more than fair, Bell Brass. He was probably gonna sell it. And you can't blame him for thinking that. Think it ain't no crime. You already said that. I don't care what you were gonna do. I just need to know what is on this disc. What is on what amazing melody is encoded on this damn music disc that just needs to be... Is it gonna be some, like, Doofenshmirtz song, like Yodel, Odel, Odel, Obey Me, that you're gonna play over the entire tri-state area to make everyone bend to your whim? What is on this disc that is so goddamn important? Oh, now what? Hello?
The evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir.
What perfect timing. The mysterious little box deposited by Mr. Gilded 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Are you kidding me? There? You absolute assholes. You just... You can't to me continue me there? God damn it. Okay. Alright, things are starting to pick up the pace. Slowly but surely, we're slowly starting to pick up the pace a little bit. I will be stunned if tomorrow is not the final episode, because we've had 4 investigations and 3 trials so far. I'm guessing it's going to be 4 trials, so tomorrow I'm almost positive is going to be the grand finale of this game. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for next time, and I hope to catch you all tomorrow for what is probably going to be the grand finale of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Goodbye!